Welcome to Common Sense. My name is Cameron, and I'm here to talk about microcap stocks. So if you're ready and prepared for a 20 to 30 minute rant of some crazy old guy talking about tiny little stocks and momentum in these tiny little stocks and what industry sectors I'm looking at that I'm bullish on right now for 2026, then you've come to the right place, because this is what I do every week. Good week of investing, I'm here talking about stocks. Bad week of investing, I'm here talking about stocks. I don't know why I do it. It's fun. It puts a smile on my face. And you know, some people join me every week to talk about this. You're just as crazy as I am. So thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Hello, hello, hello. Precious metals. Have I woken up into an alternate universe? Yes, you may have. The title of this video is Clear Momentum in Commodities, right? I think you might have to watch a little bit longer than a couple minutes of my video before I start talking about picks. I'll be talking about a lot of stocks in this video, though. I won't give any clear picks, I don't think, but I'll have some discussions and some things that I want to talk about because, yeah, I do feel like I am in a bit of an alternate reality right now. But I mean, there is clear momentum. This is something that I talk about all the time, right? If you're a CANSLIM investor, you're a momentum investor, right? You're looking for momentum in an industry sector. You're looking for momentum in a stock and earnings going up in an industry sector, you know, rising tide lifting all boats. You're looking for that momentum. You don't want to buy that falling knife, that stock that just keeps going down. Doesn't matter what they do or how many people say they like the stock. It just, you know, those are the stocks you want to stay away from. So, you know, every year we're looking for those different momentum type indicators. 2025, I thought was pretty clear. Like we had the Trump trade where in March and April of 2025, we didn't have momentum in anything. It was fear, fear, fear. If you remember the fear and greed index in March and April of 2025 was at 3. It was at 3. That's how afraid people were of Donald Trump. We had COVID and it was at 4, the fear and greed index, right? The world was afraid of dying from this disease out of China and we hit the fear and greed index of 4. And yet in 2025 with Donald Trump and tariffs, that was somehow worse. So the momentum in 2025 was after that Donald Trump tariff fear in March and April, we went on a bull run. People snapped out of it. Right? June, July, all the way up to about Halloween, we had a nice kind of bull run in microcap stocks. There was momentum. So really, what is the momentum today? And there's certain things we just have to talk about. So as usual, I have a presentation. Feel free to chat in the comments. Please keep it respectful, but let me know if there's any stocks you want me to talk about at the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I try to keep an eye on this, but if I miss it, just make sure you put it in there. Like, how am I doing? What do you want to talk about? None of this is financial advice. None of this is a solicitation to buy or sell or hold any stocks, right? This is conversation. This is just us talking about microcap stocks. Sometimes I give my opinion on sectors or companies or anything else. I'm not right. I'm not always right, right? If you're confused, if you don't know what you're doing, make sure you consult a financial advisor. This is just conversations about stocks because we all just can't sit here in a closet like I do and just invest all day and talk to ourselves, right? We have to have some conversations about this. I feel I almost have to put this slide up, value investing, right at the start, because I feel like it could piss some value investors off right now when I talk about momentum. Like, it's all about value. It's all about value. Listen, I don't change very often. I'm kind of a stubborn guy, right? And I do believe like value investing and learning how to invest, learning how to determine the value of a company is the best thing that you could do as a new investor, if there's any new investors watching this, right? Because otherwise you get sucked into this momentum. You don't understand why a stock's going up. You don't understand why a stock's going down. You're just following social media. That's the worst thing you could do. That's the worst thing you could do, in my opinion. You'll make money on your first stock. Everybody's going to be like, yeah, this is the best company ever. You'll make a few dollars. You think, I'm an absolute genius. And then, you know, next thing you know, your next trade, your next 2 trades, 5 trades, they're all losing trades. means you don't know what you got wrong. All you know is you're losing money. So please, if you're a new investor, make sure you understand how to value a company. And this is typically a little bit of what I do, is value investing, but mostly I'm looking for what the value of a company is. This is mostly what I do, which is growth at a reasonable price. Once I determine the value of a company, and if it's showing me growth, right, reasonable growth, and I think the valuation is fair to somewhat cheap, this is like my bread and butter right here, right? So I love this type of investing. You can only do growth at a reasonable price if you know what a reasonable price is, right? That's the hard part of this whole thing. So absolutely, this is what I do. But a big part of my investing is also somewhat of a modified CANSLIM method, right? Eventually, my studio is going to be finished. I'm missing my favorite book. I'm going to have a bookshelf up here once this is done, and it's going to have my book of How to Make Money in Stocks by William J. O'Neill, talking about the CANSLIM method. And really a big part of CANSLIM investing is staying away from a declining momentum and investing into strength. You really want to look for that market direction, not necessarily the whole market. You want to look for the industry sector and or the stock that you're investing in. Is there good market direction, industry sector momentum for that company? Are they get improving earnings from quarter to quarter? Are they get improving earnings from year over year, right? Leader or laggard, new product, supply and demand, right? This is a big one when we're talking about commodities right now, and then institutional partnership. But what I am looking for many, many times when I'm investing in stocks is this clear, transparent momentum. And even though clear and transparent kind of sounds similar, to me, they kind of mean different things. Like when I'm looking for transparent momentum, I'm looking for like good communication, good information, the company giving that information to me having enough information through earnings or earning calls, or, you know, some type of input that I can evaluate that's kind of transparent to me, right? When I'm talking about clear information, I'm talking about how I could see this direct line where if A happens and B happens, then C is going to happen, where I get that direct kind of correlation between there's no confusion into what is going to cause this company to succeed and what is going to cause this company to fail. Like, I'm not confused from the information that I have coming in. So even though this seems like a stupid thing to say, clear, transparent momentum, that's at least how my crazy brain thinks about it. So right now, or recently before this live stream, I was thinking, like, what do I have kind of momentum in? What are we looking at, right? Like, if you look at the history of 2025, it was very volatile. You know, the first part of 2025, down, 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 then up, 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 and then November, December, down, down, down. What was causing those momentum swings, right? Now, if I'm looking at least for now, momentum in the stock market in 2026, keep in mind, I'm recording this January 26th. We're only, 3.5 weeks in, but this is what I'm seeing for momentum right now. The price of gold is going through the roof, right? We can't ignore this. I'll show you the numbers. It's gone up to $5,000 very quickly. We have energy because artificial intelligence and construction of data centers is just sucking up the energy to the point where the US is like, contemplating different pricing structures for energy to try to make it cheaper for the average homeowner, so they're not competing for that energy demand with these massive companies that are willing to pay absolutely anything for it. And then we have just every other metal, right? Whether you look at the silver bulls or the copper bulls or the nickel bulls or whatever bulls, right? There's tons of basically critical minerals, monetary metals out there that everybody is very excited about. Everybody's got their favorite one. But right now, there's arguments to be made that this is going to be a trend moving forward. I think to a lesser extent, that's why I have some question marks behind it, is, ad tech. I do think ad tech got beat up in 2025. We have FIFA World Cup coming up. We have the US midterm elections coming up. We have the Olympics, Winter Olympics coming up. But we have 3 major events in 2026 coming up. So, and it seems like the US consumer just keeps spending. Like, I know everybody everybody's afraid of Trump and there's riots and stuff like that. People are buying shit right now. So does ad tech recover? Real assets, like if we're looking at the fear again, if we're going into fear again where the markets are overpriced and a lot of AI stocks and, you know, waiting for the bubble to burst, definitely I see people looking for real assets compared to just some kind of, you know, ghost software out there. And then other commodities. Are we talking about oil and gas, natural gas, anything else, right? You know, these are some clear, at least for me, a few clear things that right now, at least to start 2026, we have clear momentum in, and then some questionable ones that I still think could happen. And yes, again, pointing out, could be a government shutdown as soon as by the weekend. Is it the 31st or the 30th? We could be facing another U.S. government shutdown, which again would push metals up even further, right? So it's definitely something to think about. Now, when I'm looking at volatility right now, and when I'm looking at some of these stocks, everybody's pitching me a stock, right? I'm on YouTube. I get a lot of, you know, tweets on X and comments on YouTube. Take a look at this stock. Take a look at another one. It's just tough. Again, if I'm looking at specific industry sectors, what I'm not seeing momentum in some of these is anything tariff exposed. I mean, Donald Trump just keeps throwing out tariff after tariff. I just heard rumors of another Korean tariff, threats on another 100% on Canada, right? Like anything that's tariff exposed is just going to be unreasonably volatile this year, potentially. Of course, anything Canadian exposed until the USMC gets renegotiated in July. I know, very controversial. I'm on the side of the fact that the Liberal government in Canada seems to be trying to absolutely get this agreement torched before it's even time for negotiation. That really pisses me off. Like, Canada really, really, really needs this. And if this falls off, man, Canada's in trouble. So there's a lot of potential volatility here. And then a lot of these industry sectors, like I could sit here and agree. There's no argument from me that they've probably hit the bottom. They've probably hit the bottom. But as far as like, are they recovering? Do they have clear momentum to the upside yet? That's where it would take some convincing right now, right? Like I can sit here and say that I think house construction is probably bottomed out. I don't think it can get any worse, but am I like seeing clear momentum to the upside right now? I don't know about that, right? Green anything. That seems to just, you know, since the Trump election and the high budgets in Canada where they're going to have trouble just flooding money into these green projects like they used to, right? This is, you know, government subsidies are going to get reduced. So I don't know if that's very exciting right now. Manufacturing. I'm bullish on this long term, but, you know, and I think it has hit bottom in my opinion, but, you know, some of these things take a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years to kind of get construction up and running and get permits and environmental permits and buildings and leases. And so, I mean, I'm bullish on it. I think it's bottomed out, but do we have clear momentum then yet? And then same with oil and gas. Like now it's $60. It was $52 for just a basic barrel of crude. So, I mean, it has been going up a little, kind of similar to housing, but I don't know if I'm seeing clear momentum. And then crypto, right? Bitcoin's done nothing for like 18 months, right? So I'm not really seeing any clear momentum to the upside, right? So I don't know if you see what I'm saying. This is going to be a little bit of rambling in today's video, maybe a bit of a rant, but like I'm seeing some clear momentum to the upside and I'm seeing some clear question marks is kind of what I'm looking at. So, you know, when I'm talking about commodities today, right? There's gold, and this isn't today. I think I took some of these pictures from yesterday. I think today gold is up over $5,000, but you get the point, right? Like up 1 year, 80% basically in 1 year. Will it hold? I don't know, but right now it's up 80% in 12 months. Silver, up over $100. Sorry, I think it was up another 8, 9, 10%, something like that today. It was at like $108 for silver today. Copper, volatile, normally volatile, right? Until recently, just straight up. So volatility, and then just recently since August, just up, 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 up. So if it could take something as volatile as copper right now, I would say that is clear momentum, clear momentum, clear momentum, clear momentum, right? Natural gas. See what I'm saying? Other commodities, maybe. Like you could see a bottom right here. It seems like it's trending up. Is that clear momentum? It's definitely a little bit of momentum. It's definitely more bullish. It's definitely not gold or silver, right? You look at oil. Recently, sure. But what if the, Ukraine and war finally reach a peace deal and all of a sudden Russia's shipping everywhere? So, I mean, this has been down since 2022. So can I sit here and say, hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe, oil has kind of bottomed out here and we are starting to see a little bit of an upswing? Yeah, I would like to say that, but I'm just not sold yet. So here's the thing. Is that, the price of gold, the price of silver, the price of copper, and the price of other things, I'm seeing a lot of this on social media. And I absolutely agree with it and then somewhat disagree as well. And we'll talk about that today, right? And I absolutely love Ian Castle, right? We're allowed to disagree every once in a while. And what we're seeing with a lot of these statements out there is be careful. And I absolutely agree with that. Commodities tend to move in cycles, right? 12 months, everybody becomes an expert. Everybody piles into the narrative. So I have to ask the question, and am I just piling into the narrative here of gold and silver and copper? Am I somebody else's exit liquidity? You have to be careful of that. You have to make sure you're prepared for downside risk if you're buying at the tippy top, right? Don't use all-time high commodity prices or even higher prices to justify buying a resource stock. Absolutely agree, right? Gold's at $5,000. Don't sit here and plan for $5,000 to last forever. Don't sit here and plan for that $10,000 price of gold. If it happens, hey, you could make money, but you have to plan for that downside risk. If you can't justify the investment based on commodity levels 25% lower, some cases 50% lower, you pass. And if the commodity goes 25% lower from here, equities will probably go 50% lower. So just live in reality, not make believe. All of this is to say, just be cautious. Absolutely agree with this. Right up to here. 100% agree with Ian Castle. Absolutely love it. The only thing I kind of disagree with is this last part of the statement here, right? So he says the real money is made buying resource stocks when the underlying commodity resource is near lows and then being willing to wait years to be right and make 1,000% in a year or two when it turns. This is the only part that I'll mildly disagree with, because if you're the type of investor that knows how to catch a wave, right? We always say, catch that momentum. William J. O'Neill, catch the rising tide, right? If you're the type of investor who's good in that, who has a strategy around catching momentum, limiting downside risk, I don't want to sit here and say that the real money is made just buying 5 years ago in commodities. And guess what, Mr. Investor? You're going to not make money because you didn't buy 5 years ago and wait around patiently. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like there is ways to make money in resources and other things if you catch that momentum. You don't have to just say, well, I missed it, so I'm out. I'm just not going to invest in commodities right now, right? I think we have to be careful of the downside risk, but we also have to be careful of not catching that rising momentum, right? We're seeing that a lot. I see this, and same thing, I agree with this, with Microcap David, been getting pitched mining pitches daily, right? As the old adage goes, good commodity investors buy at a low price to book and sell at a low P to E. Bad ones do the opposite, right? I agree. I absolutely agree. So you have to be careful of that. I understand the warnings. At the same time, there's people pitching the other end of this. It's absolutely insane. You get warnings from intelligent people I respect. Right now, they have the Metals Investing Forum, and you will get these videos here where these gentlemen are talking about how there's potential for a $10,000 price of gold in the future, right? And they build reasonable cases. So, right now the price of gold has gone from $1,000 to $5,000, and there's still people out there talking about how it can go to $10,000 and providing a reasonable chance of how to do it. This guy here is one of those people that says it could potentially go to $10,000. And I absolutely love this person because the start of this slide is the curse of Trudeau. So I can tell right off the bat, very intelligent person, absolutely agree with his train of thought, and I need to listen to this gentleman. So joking a little bit, well, not with this, but I don't think he says that it's going to go to $10,000. What a lot of these people are saying is that there's a higher likelihood that metals aren't going to see the same massive boom and bust cycle that they've seen in the past. And there is some discussion that even though there's going to be some volatility, it's going to be more muted than it was in the past. So that I could start to understand that a little bit. This is the Metals Investor Forum on YouTube, so you can go check them out if you want, right? But here's the question for me, and this is what I'm going to get into, right? The question for me is that given how equities right now, how a lot of stocks right now are simply at crazy high valuations with a lot of speculative companies just shooting to the moon. And when there's this much risk in the equity markets that it's scaring one of our top microcap investors in the world here in Paul Andriola with Small Cap Discoveries, literally saying, tell me why this shouldn't frighten equity investors, which we are, right? This is concerning. Why should I not at least look at commodities, right? I think this is what is driving people into commodities, right? It's hard to say that stocks are massively high risk right now. And yet over here, we've got commodities, but they're massively high risk as well. Like, what do you do with your money? Cash. I do have a lot of cash, right? And you could take some lower investment type return things in your portfolio. But at the end of the day, my microcap portfolio is my high risk money. So I don't like to let my high risk money sit around for too long, right? I like to deploy it. But let me know what you think in the comments. If you're watching this after, like, what is more risky right now? Is it the equities? Is it stocks? Is it the massive high valuation on stocks right now? Or do you think there's more risk right now in, say, the price of gold? That's kind of my question here. So if we get into this then, and there's some things here that I could start pointing out that I agree with correlation economics. So people will say we're in an alternate universe because Cameron typically doesn't discuss commodities. Cameron typically doesn't discuss mining stocks, and you would be correct. Now, one of the main reasons that you're correct is that I do not typically invest one per year only just for fun in any pre-revenue stocks or any stock that has just really bad financial fundamentals. I can't do it. That's not how I invest. I invest in profitable, growing companies. So when I look at this, I agree with correlation economics here. It basically says avoid developers and explorers, as these can dump very hard on permitting news, bad exploration results, etc. These are all these types of companies that just have no revenue. And I still, even in this commodity cycle, too hard for me. It's just too hard for me. I can't do it. So if your favorite metal stock has no revenue, some hidden resource underground, constant financings for drilling programs, it's just not my favorite thing in the world. However, given the price of gold, silver, and copper and other metals, that if I'm taking the position that I simply can't ignore the price of them anymore, I just can't, right? They've gone up so much, there has to be money to be made here somewhere. I do agree with this. I can take this perspective where long-term producers with a high mine life, growth, and cash flow can be held forever. Because the thing is it does not matter what we're doing, and I've invested in many different things in my life, right? From real estate to stocks to REITs to different types of companies and different types of industry sectors. I am always looking for the same thing, which is cash and cash flow, right? Which company is going to produce cash the best, the most efficient way that's going to reward their shareholders with proper use of this cash. So in this way, this is what I am good at, and this is how I can translate my skills into this industry sector. So this statement here, I 100% agree with, right? And that's why you will see when I look at this, this is for one of the mining stocks that I'm looking at that is a current producer. This is not a company that has zero revenue right now. And when I look at these numbers in 2026, 2027, right now this company has an enterprise value of around $127 million. And you look at the price of gold. Now here again, the person right now, the price of gold is at $5,000, and this person is factoring in a price of gold of $4,000. Right now, the price of silver is up above $100, and this person is factoring in a price of silver of $50, and you're getting cash flow here of $77 and $72 million discounted, and in 2027, $155 million and $136 million discounted. I know that's a little bit small for some people to read, but what I'm saying is you can look at a company here with the price of gold reasonably discounted here, and maybe to be even safer, we could lower this to, what do you think gold drops to if we do get a correction? $3,500, $3,800, $3,000? Does it go that low again, right? You put in different numbers here, your downside risk, and then you calculate the cash flow. But what I'm seeing is a company that by 2027, somewhere in the middle of 2027, is basically currently trading today for 1 times cash flow. Like, this is the potential here, right? This company, I can't tell you which one it is. I've actually got an unlisted video on it already for people in my Patreon and my Discord, Substack Discord. Either you can get to it through Patreon or Substack, but that's, I basically have videos early for some of my paying subscribers. So that one's out. It will be released publicly this Friday. But this is kind of the argument here, right? Is that, you know, the price of gold is up here. Free cash flow on some of these mining stocks that are actually producing some of these metals is 11 times higher, and the share price of some of these companies is 2.5 times higher. So we have, you know, 100 to 200% gains in some of these mining stocks that are actually producing, and yet their free cash flow is, if gold and silver stay at these prices, are absolutely through the roof. So you do have to question, even though some of these stocks are up 100 to 200%, is there still momentum moving forward? That is the question. Because right now, I'm not going to sit here and say that gold's going to go from 5,000 to 10,000. That's not what I'm saying. But if you look at the downside risk with some of these companies, if it drops to 4,000 or 3,000, my question right now, and again, going back to my roots as a value investor, is running those numbers and seeing if the market has not priced in this recent jump in gold price for some of these companies, right? I think a lot of the gains have priced in this jump in gold price right here. A lot of the stocks that are up 100 to 200% are because of this jump in gold price right there. But my question, or what I'm doing right now, which is looking for these stocks that I think have not priced in this price of gold here. Now, again, maybe it doesn't last forever. Maybe it drops down to these prices, and we have to be careful about that. That is the cautionary statement. That is where I 100% agree with Ian Castle, is you have to be aware that these mining bulls could be wrong, the metal bulls could be wrong, and it could crash back down to reasonable prices. You have to be careful about that, right? But at the end of the day, I am looking for that clear, transparent momentum, and right now we've got it in metals, right? And you see that clear. Well, if gold stays at this price and this company produces this amount of gold, then they are going to produce this amount of cash. There is this clear kind of direct, transparent potential momentum where we could watch the price of metals, we could watch what these companies are producing, and we can calculate whether the market has efficiently factored that into the share price or not. A, B, C. I like that, right? Now, I'm going to give you a comparable, and that's going to kind of, you know, completely bust apart this transparent, clear, transparent momentum thing, because the following kind of thing I'm looking at, in my opinion, had no clear, transparent momentum. That's why I never invested in Bitcoin, right? Now, I was just never able to see A plus B equals C. I always thought that Bitcoin was just kind of a gamble, right? Nobody knew if it was going to go up. Nobody knew if it was going to go down. There was no A plus B plus C, or at least I didn't take the time and the effort to educate myself on Bitcoin to learn that A plus B plus C. But you have to be careful, because I think all of us sitting back, and we've joked around about it, but if you look at the price of Bitcoin since about 2015, so 10 years, right? 10 years is up 18,000%. Every single one of us, if we could roll back time, right, go back 10 years ago, we would have put every dollar in Bitcoin. There's no way around it. 18,000% gains, and it was higher before, right? It went up higher. It's actually down. 18,000% gains, and in a lot of ways, you could probably hide your Bitcoin gains from taxes, right? So, I mean, what a great investment. I avoided it. And I'm fine. I'm happy with that. I made money in other ways. But over the course of the years, and I think this is why I'm good to talk about something like Bitcoin, because I'm pretty unbiased. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I never made money on it. I never lost money on it. I'm just kind of been that unbiased spectator on Bitcoin, watching the crowds go up and down on whether you're bullish or bearish on Bitcoin. And one of the things I see is kind of what I'm hearing in commodities right now is sell, 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 be careful, be careful, be careful. And absolutely, I agree with that. But at the same time, I have to say, people, it was the Bitcoin bulls that have been right all along. Like, there's no point along here, given this recent price in Bitcoin where it went to like US 120,000, even if you bought the absolute tippy top here during COVID, as long as you held, you still made money. Like, there's no point in the history of Bitcoin now where you bought Bitcoin and you did not make money, except for this one little tippy part up here, which was, mid 2025, basically the past 18 months. This is like the first time in history where Bitcoin investors who bought here have not made money. So while, yes, I completely agree, you have to be very careful of like this type of downside risk. At the same time, if we're on a commodity cycle that's going to look anything like this, it is embarrassingly, tragically, I don't want to use a mean word, but you don't want to miss out on this type of momentum, right? Like, you look at this type of momentum, this is what investors dream about. If I cross this out and I say, don't tell you this is Bitcoin, would you buy this stock? Most stock investors would say yes. So the question is, if this is what gold and silver and copper and other metals are going to do right now, it's very difficult to stay away from that type of momentum. So, I mean, here's a good slide here talking about that, right? You have to be long. I'm still investing aggressively, but even the biggest bulls prepare for a correction this year, right? And I mean, the antidote for the crash in this person's video is basically cash, and I agree with that. But I would also say it is my favorite thing in the world, which I always say is one of the superpowers of being a small retail investor. A lot of these people that give out warnings and warn you about a crash and, make sure if something's going to crash that you can get out, well, that is the superpower of a small retail investor, right? When you're not investing a lot of cash, when you're investing like $10,000 instead of like $1 million into a company, you have the ability to get in quickly and you have the ability to get out quickly. So make sure you use that, right? You have the ability to buy quickly into a stock. If you think it's going to go up, you have the ability to sell quickly out of a stock if you're worried about it, if it's going to go down, if it does go down, if it's going to lose you sleep at night, right? This is one of the superpowers of being a small retail investor, is you don't have to worry about putting $1 million in a stock and it takes you 3 months to buy and it takes you 3 months to sell if you got it wrong. So this is something to be aware of, but it's also a great way to make money. Let's see here. Gold, 2004, gold was 401 with the bank commissions. All my friends laughed at me. Who's laughing now? Yes, that's same with all my friends. I talk about this almost every week, right? I have a bunch of commodity investors who are friends, and I've said the past 5-6 years, man, I've just been crushing them. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you investing in this stuff, right? And then you always get that 1 year where they just absolutely destroy me. And they're like, ha, 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 sucker. It's like, all right, I'm going to take a look, right? I see the clear opportunity here. in the cash flow production if gold and other metals can stay at these elevated prices. That's a big if. That's what you got to watch for. But if that happens, there are microcap stocks down here in this space. Everybody, all the investors invested, like the larger investors, invested in the easier companies, the companies with less risk, the companies that were larger, the billion-dollar market cap companies. They're not in the microcap space right now, right? Those will get discovered later. So as always, one of the superpowers of being a microcap stock investor is you have to go find these mispriced opportunities. There are still mispriced microcap stocks out there that are producing gold, that are producing silver, that are producing copper, and they simply haven't caught up in share price to where the commodity pricing is. So that is what I'm looking at. Now, let's talk about some risk. So somebody might be looking at this and saying, you're crazy, Cameron, too risky, I'm not going to do it. Let's look at some of these stocks, and this is why I'm talking about risk today, right? I love Sanuwave Health. This is a great company. This is a fantastic company. I don't own any shares anymore. I was thinking about buying now recently. I don't own any shares in Sanuwave. The reason was it went up to here. It went massive valuation. So company I love, a valuation that I just refuse to pay, right? It's sitting at 5 times sales now after dropping from $45 per share down to $26 per share. It's still sitting at 5 times sales. It was over 10 times sales. You look at the EV to EBITDA, 106. It was more than double that when it was at $45. That has risk, right? Equities aren't necessarily simply less risky than some of these like commodity companies, right? You really got to dig into it. I've been talking about how 2025 has been the year of speculative investments. You have Liberty Stream Infrastructure Partners in the past year up 434%. Congratulations. Great company. Looks fantastic in the future because they don't make any money. Right? There's no revenue at all, no price to sales, price to book. You know, the person talking about the commodity stocks where, you know, you buy at a low price to book kind of thing. And it's like, well, look at the price to book on Liberty Stream Technologies, 79. So, you know, you ask yourself, is there more risk in this or is there more risk in some of these commodity stocks? It's different. I don't know if there's more risk or not. I like this company. It does have a wonderful future, but do some of these commodity stocks also have a wonderful future at elevated, even at elevated valuations simply due to the price of commodities right now, right? Alula Composites, same thing. $88, $89 million market cap, 14, 15 times sales, right? So, and it's up this past year, what is it? 311%. It's up share price. Do you think this is more or less risky than some of these commodity stocks? And I'll show you 1 or 2 commodity stocks here just to compare. But for now, I'm just kind of going down the list. Hydrate Technologies. I love Hydrate. Nurse V. Love this stock. In the past year, it's up 44%. It's down from their highs, but still up 44%. And even though it's down significantly from their highs, still 6 times sales. So similar, very similar to Sanuwave, right? High valuation creates risk. It does. I'm sorry to say it, but high valuation, not really profitable yet. There is risk in that. Again, love this company, could have a good future, but there's risk in this high valuation. Kraken Robotics, this is one of my most famous stocks that I've ever had on this channel. $2.54 billion market cap, $8.54, up 216% again in the past 12 months. 22.65 times sales. And you think, oh, but it's got to be crazy profitable. Nope. Not yet, right? EV to EBITDA, 137, forward PDE, 87 times. There is risk in this. Is this more risky than some of these commodity stocks? Tesla, let's look at a bigger company, right? Is this a car company or a robot company? In the past year, it's only up 10%, but right now, $1.49 trillion valuation, 16 times price to sales, 113 times EV to EBITDA, forward P/E of 200. Is there more or less risk in Tesla than there is in some of these commodity stocks, right? They better get the self-driving and the Prime Optimus robots going pretty quickly. Now, when you look at these numbers, do you see more or less risk in the fact that if gold stays at $4,000, this company could potentially be producing $136 million of free cash flow in 2027? Right? When I make that comparison in my head and I'm comparing some of these commodity stocks to some of these, other comparable equities that aren't commodity stocks, that are basically have zero free cash flow, that are still doing equity raises, some of them with no revenue yet. Where is the risk, right? Where is the real risk here? So that is my question. And you have to be concerned. You don't want to buy the tippity top. It's a commodity cycle. It could crash. You have to be aware of that. Don't just diamond hands these things all the way to the bottom. But it is very hard to not recognize that if A, price of metals stays high, and B, these companies keep producing these metals, then C, the cash flow is going to be absolutely insane. And then D, let's throw a D in there, not every investor is out there finding these microcap stocks that still do not have this priced into their share price. That's all I'm saying. Let's compare some of these stocks to just one mining commodity stock here that I've been looking at here in Jaguar Mining, right? $9.48. It's already up 300% in the year. You look at this, trailing PDE of 10, forward PDE of 11, EV to EBITDA 57, price to sales of 3.75. That's high. That is high for me. I typically look for lower than this, but the forward PDE doesn't look bad. The PDE looks good, right? So it's high, but does this have more risk? This is before this $5,000 gold, remember? They're basing this earnings off basically probably around $2,500 gold, I think. So the price of gold has doubled since this recent earnings. And yeah, valuation looks high. But again, if the price of gold stays high, all of a sudden you're going to see over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarters that the valuation on a stock like this is going to absolutely shoot down. And when, again, you look at risk, people say some of these stocks are just too risky for me. Jaguar Mining, trailing 12 months, almost $35 million of operating cash flow in the past trailing 12 months. Only a $774 million market cap, $10 million of free cash flow. And again, 2025 was, number one, a challenging year for this company, number one. And number two, they were doing this on a much, much, much cheaper price of gold. So again, very simply, A, price of metal, price of gold, especially for Jaguar Mining, stays up. If A happens, if B, this company can get their production back on track, if these two things can happen, then that's going to equal C, which is a shit pile more cash flow than this. And then D, has that been properly factored into this share price? That is the question. I'm not going to say whether I think it has or not right now. I'm just kind of trying to point it out. Dynacor Group. Here's another one. I've made 2 videos on Dynacor Group. This is a gold producer. It's got its problems. Iolite, one of their main shareholders, is very upset with this company. I made my 2 videos on Dynacor, sorry, I think here and here. Now it's up to here. So this is done well for me, not as well as some of these other stocks that are up 100 to 300%, but I'm happy with Dynacor because if you look here, right? Forward P/E, 9.45, EV to EBITDA, 5.90, price to sales, 0.59. The question is, has the price of gold and other metals been factored into this share price? Again, can they get their production back up to better levels? They've been struggling with that. Again, that's always the question for me. Again, kind of trying to ram it into your heads. If the price of gold and other metals stays high, if Dynacor Group can actually get their production up, because they have been suffering with that, then C, this company is going to produce a shit pile of cash. And then the big question mark for D is whether or not you think if these things are going to happen, has that been priced into their share price for Dynacor Group? This is a company that's talking about potentially having sales of $1 billion US by 2030. Right now, their market cap is 274 million. So you have to admit there's potential here if they can actually, again, get that production back up and the price of gold stays high. I mean, $1 billion in the next 4 or 5 years of sales, like annually, they're saying by 2030, that's pretty impressive. So I like that. Now, when I'm talking about momentum, you look at some of these other companies. This is 5 days on Canara. I love Canara. They just released earnings today. I thought earnings were really good. Anybody see earnings? Growth, producing cash, did fantastic. Today was up, a little bit. It's up 5% in the past 5 days. This was today. They reported good earnings. Share price did not go up. That is concerning to me. That is concerning to me. It reminds me of 2025, right? In 2025, we had a lot of companies that had good earnings and share price did nothing. So does this have more risk? Right? That is the question. Now, I know, yes, it's probably already priced into the shares, right? Canara is already up 100% in the past 12 months. So I'm not super worried yet, but I am worried a little bit that we're going to see more of 2025 where companies are reporting good earnings and share prices not going up. NTG Clarity Networks. I'm still waiting for more information. Where's the press release? Where's the contracts? Where's the outlook for 2026, right? As we wait for that more information, investors aren't liking it. Share price is going down. So does this have more risk than some of these, cash heavy commodity stocks right now? It's a good question. Covalon Technologies, again, love this company. When are they going to do something? Right? When are they going to do anything good? Because this has been their year. This is a good company that a lot of good, intelligent, large investors have put a lot of research in, and they like it. And share price has done nothing but go down. Atlas Engineered Products. I talked about housing. Are we at the bottom? Yeah, maybe. Investors are kind of guessing that we're at the bottom here. The share price of Atlas has been starting to trickle up. I kind of wish them well, but I have question marks on whether or not we're at the bottom of housing or not, right? We are at the bottom. I have said we're at the bottom, but when is the momentum going to happen? I don't know. Right? Biorem. Love this company. Again, similar to Canara. I'm a little bit worried because they reported pretty good numbers here, good earnings at the end of November, really large increase in backlog, and we're seeing share price decline. So it recovered here on the earnings, and then it's been drifting down again. So this has me a bit concerned. Is there more or less risk in this than the price of gold right now? Progressive Planet Solutions. This one's been successful. This is a kitty litter business. This is sometimes I love it. I love, boring, profitable. That's the theme these days is boring and profitable. I actually had a slide up here, recent video from Microcap Club, right? Investing in Boring Businesses by Tim Hansen. I absolutely love it. That is definitely a kitty litter business. They have some other things on the go, but is there more or less risk right now with Progressive Planet than they had before the lower share price? I don't know. We all love D-Box. This one's definitely got some momentum. I love that one. And I recently made a video on clean tech, and that's done very well. It's up from, I think my video was at 33 cents. It was somewhere down here. Hope you guys watched it. Clean tech is now up to 60 cents. I hope they keep this momentum because this one does have some pretty good clear momentum in my opinion. What do you think, right? I'm here today kind of talking about risk, and maybe that should have been the title of my video, but I see some clear, transparent momentum in some of these commodity stocks. I see some of the potential here, even though we're getting in a little bit late. We are in the microcap space, so there's always these mispriced opportunities down in some of these tiny stocks that nobody else is looking at. Do you have your favorite metal stocks that are actually producing and that in the next potentially 12 to 24 months are going to just be rolling in cash? That is my question. If you want to discuss any of these metal stocks, right, they are all in my Discord. You can access my Discord through either Patreon or Substack. It's your choice. It's basically the same service. And just go to commonsenseinvesting.ca and you could find out which path is right for you. But yeah, we're talking about all these stocks every day in the Discord. that is it for the presentation. Thanks for sticking around. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or other stocks you would like me to talk about, now is the time. That went a little bit longer than I expected. Holy crap, 49 minutes. That is a long one. So you could tell how passionate I am about this right now, right? It's opportunity. It's exciting. It's something different. It might be the top of the cycle. I can prepare myself for that. But if it isn't, I want to prepare for that as well. So clear momentum in commodities. Cheers. Questions? All right, let's do this. What do we got here? Go to the top. Let's start with this one again. Yes, you have woken up in an alternative universe. Did you get an idea? Again, I have to be careful what I say on public live streams. I'm not going to sit here on a public live stream and talk about my favorite or my least favorite stocks, because that's too much like financial advice. Some I like more than others. I discuss kind of everything I discuss on my Discord, where everybody signs off basically on it's not financial advice. But basically on YouTube, I just like talking about these stocks without talking about what my absolute favorites are and what my least favorite stocks are. Silver is killing it. Yes, it's up. It's insane. Where is it going to land? Is it going to land? There's no way that silver, like, what crashes first? Is silver going to crash first? Is copper going to crash first? Is gold going to crash first? Is any of it going to crash at all? Do we get a slow trickle down? Like silver, it just seemed like it went up so bloody quickly that potentially it's going to drop quickest as well. So, but we'll see. There's arguments against it. I saw one of the videos from the mining conference, the guy was kind of making a joke, and he's like, what if Xi Jinping just wakes up in China someday and he's like, I want all Chinese coins in pure silver from this day forward. Like, you never know what's going to happen in this crazy world these days, right? All right, a great snow time in Canada. Yes, I hear people in Toronto are absolutely getting hit. Have fun. It's nice, right? I know a lot of times Toronto doesn't get as much snow as some other parts of Canada, so you're not going to get a lot of like empathy from a lot of other Canadians because Toronto is getting blanketed in snow. But stay safe. Go shovel out some old people if you can, please. If you don't get a lot of snow and you're not used to snow, one of the most dangerous things about heavy snowfalls is our senior citizens, right? It's like you would be shocked at the risk of death for senior citizens during snowfalls. It like the risk of death goes up like 500% or something crazy like that, because they go out there and try to shovel, and either they slip and they break a hip or they have a heart attack. So go help, go. If you need a workout, go shovel out a senior citizen in the snow. Kraken, what's next, please? Yeah. Kraken's one of Canada's only defense stocks, and everybody, it's funny when nobody's commented on it yet, but on my slide for like what industry sector is going to have momentum in 2026, a lot of people were commenting defense stocks still and AI stocks. And I would kind of agree with that. Defense and AI is still going to have momentum in 2026. The problem is those sectors already had momentum in 2025, significant momentum. I know some of these commodity stocks are already up 100 and 200%. I think there's more to go. My question for some of these stocks are in defense and AI is, are they just played out, right? Are they the top of the cycle? So when I look at Kraken, and I showed you the valuations there, I'm just like, man, when I look at the similar valuation in Kraken Robotics to like a tenth of the valuation in a commodity stock, and the commodity stock is producing $10 million of cash per year, and Kraken keeps doing financings because they keep running out of cash. Like, it's definitely, you have to look at what type of investor you are before you kind of make those decisions. Hello, Quebec. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Let's see, Manitoba. Somebody from Manitoba. Congratulations. We've had a cold winter here where I'm at, and I'd imagine when we have a cold winter, sometimes I will think about Manitoba and just be like, hope they're okay out there. So I hope you've had at least not a worse winter than we've had here out west, because it's been bloody cold. What do you think on TRX? I don't know what TRX is, but I can look it up quickly while I'm going through some other TRX gold. So I have not looked at this stock at all. I can take a quick look. TRX gold, what do we got here? 1 year, it's up significantly. It recently had, I don't like these spikes, right? So I don't mind paying like for an all-time high if a stock is going up consistently. I don't mind, like, if a stock is going up like this, I don't mind buying along this line because this is showing momentum. I do have trouble, a lot of trouble buying this, right? This scares me because this is one of those price moves where in the next 2 days you could just see this, right? And it goes down so quickly that you don't even have time. Your stop losses don't execute, and there's just nothing you could do about that. So that's the type of thing I'm worried about. Right now, looking at the financials, I mean, $70 million of revenue. They're not making money yet. EPS, what is their cash flow? So $17 million of cash flow. It's going up a little, but not a whole lot. I would definitely have to put a lot of research into this. This does not look like it's got as much momentum as some of the other companies I am looking at right now, at least in their cash, their revenue. But the real thing is it's hard to look at some of these companies very quickly. Like I could typically skim through some other stocks. Like if I'm looking at an AI stock, I can usually in about 5 minutes tell if it's good or junk. The problem with some of these commodity stocks is you don't know what projects they have on the go. So a lot of these companies, they might have, well, their earnings are kind of flat right now, but the reason the earnings are flat and the share price is up is they have a mine starting up in 2 weeks, and you need to know that to be able to make that investment decision. So it's really hard. It's really hard to look at some of these stocks quickly. But I mean, at the end of the day, at least it's producing some cash. So that's better than some of these exploration stocks, right? Government shutdown might happen. Yes, please be aware of that, people. And again, a bit of a momentum killer, right? You know, I'm worried that the first part of 2025 is going to be, you know, slow momentum again in a lot of stocks. That is a good question. Saskatchewan, love Saskatchewan. Hello to Saskatchewan. It's good to see so many different people here, right? It really is. And it's funny in that, you know, you think the finance world is, especially in Canada, is Vancouver and Toronto. And yet I do notice that a lot of people in my live streams, at least the people that are willing to share where they're from, maybe the people from Toronto and Vancouver are just too embarrassed. We don't want to admit we're from Toronto, right? But you get a lot of people, like people will say Saskatchewan, Manitoba, you know, our Maritimers here. I have a bunch of Newfoundlanders that like coming into this live stream, and they love saying hi, but not a lot of people from Toronto and Vancouver, despite that being the center of the finance world in Canada. McCoy Global has been sitting on it for quite some time. Any insight on my end? Yeah, I mean, this is one of those plays. I do love McCoy Global. The problem with McCoy Global is that it's hard to discuss right now because we are waiting on those Middle Eastern contracts coming up. So McCoy Global is a 2026 and 2027 play. Now, I haven't researched in a while, so don't quote me exactly on that, but they have bids coming up for, I believe, 100 rigs in 2026. And is it 300 in 2027? So right now, like U.S. shales kind of slowed down. There's not a lot of oil and gas activity right now. So you could see how like the price of shares has drifted down from like $4.50. And it did bottom out recently here, and it's up a little bit. Like I said, the price of oil's been up a little bit. It was around $52. So we are getting a little bit of momentum here. But the thing with me and McCoy Global is I don't think their next quarter is going to be very good. I don't think their Q4 is going to like absolutely crush it. In fact, I think their next 2 or 3 earnings might be kind of okay and not great. The thing is whether or not they win these bids, because these are huge contracts. So if you're okay with that, if you're the type of investor who's patient, and again, looking at being like a value investor, and you look at the value of McCoy Global, be conservative. If they only win a certain number of these contracts, what do I think the value of this company is going to be in the future? What is the downside risk? What is the upside risk? You know, that's kind of what we're looking at here. This company's been around for a long time, like 125 years or something crazy like that. They have a bunch of cash. They have a good new technology. They're bidding on a bunch of large contracts. There's a lot of good catalysts on this stock. The question for me becomes like what price you're willing to pay and how long you're willing to hold and be patient, because I don't think this is a 1 or 2 month stock. I'm not going to sit here and like, I wouldn't guarantee like this company's going to be up in share price in the next 1 or 2 months. The question for me is, does it go up in the next 2 to 3 years is kind of what I'm looking at with McCoy. So do some research on those contracts, know what to look for those contracts, and, you know, read everything you can about what the CEO says when he's talking about those contracts. That's kind of what I would say with McCoy Global, but it's such a good company. It's everything that you're looking for, except again, when you're looking at clear, transparent momentum, like the company's very transparent. They're very clear on what they need. They're very clear on what they're doing, and they have some momentum. So I have that transparent momentum. Do I have clear momentum? Not really, because I have to always look at the oil and gas activity around the world, right? I have to dig further into that data and be like, what are they doing in Saudi Arabia? What are they doing in Texas? What are they doing in South America? And then I have to try to gather all those data points and say, is this going to be good or is this going to be bad for McCoy Global? And then even if it is good, I don't know if they're going to win those contracts or not. So two out of three basically for me with McCoy Global is you have a transparent company and you have some momentum, but it's tough to see whether it's, you know, very clear or not. Sometimes it isn't. CUPR, please, and CNC. Is CNC's Canadian nickel, right? Isn't that Canadian nickel? Let's see here. So I looked at this one. Yeah, look at that. It's amazing how many stocks I have rolling around in my head. So this is the company where it's amazing when people talk about patience, because I made a video on Canadian nickel, and I made a video on Canadian nickel when I was a very, very, very young YouTube channel in 2022. I started YouTube in May of 2022, I believe it was. And I do know that upon request and after doing some research, I made a video here on Canadian nickel. And I looked like an absolute moron, because you remember that Ian Castle post where it's like, oh, the only way to buy commodity stocks is to buy cheap and then hold for many, many years. This is very, very hard to do, because a lot of times these opportunities in commodity stocks don't just sit there flat. It's not like even you're just sitting there holding this stock and you're just not making money but not losing money. In a lot of cases, these commodity stocks lose you money every year until you get that next cycle. And it's amazing because you look at this company now in Canadian nickel, and people who bought here and right now they own shares or they're selling and taking profit. They made a fortune and they look like absolute geniuses, and this all happened in about 6 months. But the people who bought here in 2022 lost money, right? They're not, you know, up till now, they've only made a little bit of profit. They lost money through 2023. They lost money through 2024. They lost money through 2025. And it's only been the past 6 months where they get this little blip. So this is a perfect example to me where I somewhat disagree with people saying like, well, you need to just buy it and hold it for 10 years and then you're going to make a shit pile of money. That has a lot of risk for me. Right now, I'm looking at some of these stocks and I'm saying, are they overpriced or underpriced? Is there mispricing here? I honestly don't know enough about Canadian nickel right now to say if this is overpriced or underpriced, but I will look into them, because right now, honestly, a lot of my time has been going into gold and silver and copper stocks. I have not looked at any nickel stocks yet. So I will take a look. I will make that promise and we'll see where it takes me. But right now, I do not have an opinion on them yet. But just looking at that chart, thank you. It was a great example of like, you know, how it's some things are just easy to say and harder to do. Like, would you be able to have bought Canadian nickel, which I made a video in them in 2022. They were an okay looking company. They weren't a crap looking company back then. They looked okay. And still they would have lost me money for 3 straight years, right? Can you hold through that? Yeah, natural gas is up 30% today. There's a big storm right across North America. So the price of natural gas spikes for heating costs, right? Everybody, it's like the price of gas goes up on a long weekend. That's why the price of natural gas is up right now. It's these big winter storms out there right now. Silver at 111. Yeah, you're probably right. That's crazy. You know, will it crash? Maybe, but right now, boy, momentum. I sold my CNC and bought MMY. Not sure that was the right thing to do. I could not tell you. I do not know what MMY is. I can take a quick look, though. I'm just having fun right now looking at different. Oh, yeah, I think this one's in the Discord. Monument Mining. This one rings a bell. Somebody took a look at this one. I don't remember what the final answer was, right? What do you got here? $459 million market cap, $111 million of trailing 12 months revenue, 13 cents EPS, cash flow trailing 12 months, $58 million operating, $44 million free cash flow. Wow, that's not bad. $44 million of free cash flow on a $459 million market cap. And again, this was all done when the price of gold was, you know, probably $2,000 to $3,000 and not $5,000. So yeah, I could see why you would be interested. I know somebody in my Discord was looking at that stock, but sorry, I have not deep dived into that one yet, so I can't give more an opinion on it than that. But you see what I'm saying, right? With some of these companies, like, are you truly getting $45 million of free cash flow and you have a $450 million market cap, and that free cash flow could potentially double or triple in the next 12 months? Guys, like, there's risk, but there's also potential, right? 130 USD in China. Wow. Cameco has been on a tear, but I'm not paying 21 times sales for a miner that has no way to reduce their cost of extraction at 21 times sales. I could find better stocks. And that's absolutely what this is. Like, here's the thing. I love this post. I actually could come back to this if I could find it here, right? With how much I agree with this post here. And I didn't mention it on when I did my presentation, but I will now. Choose wisely, my friends. Choose wisely. This space has landmines. They have shitty management teams, some of them, the questionable things being done in the finances, and, you know, missing money through higher unexplained expenses. This is not necessarily the most ethical, transparent, communicative group of companies that I've ever researched in my life. And look, this is, if some mining CEO is watching this video, no offense personally, right? There are unicorns, there are outliers, and it's not even that, it doesn't even go that far. It's just, you know, even if the percentage of ugly players in this space goes from 5% to 15%, that's a noticeable difference. And that still means that 85% of the people out there might be great people. But you have to recognize that it is a more dangerous place. So, you know, you have to look at this, I think, in my opinion, like COVID. You remember how in COVID in 2020, every stock went up and then every stock came down in 2021 and 2022, and then only the good stocks rebounded. So when we talk about choosing wisely, it's not just about pitching money at any play in metals right now. I mean, maybe you could potentially do that on a quick trade and make some money. I have no idea. Maybe gold goes to $10,000, right? That could happen. But at the end of the day, the stocks that are going to see a correction and then really recover, those are the better companies, the better management teams, the better cash producers, better users of cash, right? So you have to be very, very careful in this space. You have to make sure, you know, at what point do you realize that something's overvalued? At what point do you realize that you're wrong and the thesis isn't working out? And then what are you going to do? Are you going to sell 100%, 50%, 20%? Like, have a plan. I'm sure there's a lot of happy arbitrage silver traders right now. Oh, they're through the moon, right? Maybe. I don't know yet if they're through the moon. The thing is that they will be stressed out now, believe it or not, because they'll be stressed out every day. They'll be losing sleep on whether to take profits or hold. whether to sell 100%, 20%, 100%, 50%. Like I guarantee you, even silver investors right now are losing more sleep than I will lose, potentially buying at what could be the top, because I have a plan to get in small. I have an exit plan. I'm not necessarily worried about getting this wrong and like getting a 50% drop in one day. So I think a lot of them are a little bit stressed out right now. TD Bank shorted silver again today and froze their sales today. Yeah. I heard that rumors of that too, right? For online gold, silver on their webpage, copper, the next big bang, I think. It's already up. I'm more bullish on copper longer term. And I don't know if that's good or not, right? Like if gold, forget silver. I'm less, I think silver is going to be a bit more volatile. And actually some of my gold stocks that I'm looking at produce silver. So it's like it's like bonus money, right? Is how I look at silver. But let's say just that gold stays at $5,000. That is going to mean that some companies over the next 6 to 12 months are going to produce cash like nobody's ever produced cash in their lives. Like the margins are going to be insane. The free cash flow is going to be crazy. Their expenses, they're not going to be able to raise their expenses quickly enough to spend all the money, right? So what are they going to do with it all? And then that's going to be the question of, do I sell, or are they going to give me a huge dividend? Like what the hell is going to happen here? Maybe price of gold doesn't stay that high, but I'm just saying if it does, that has kind of momentum right now. Now, copper's up right now, but I'm also more bullish on copper. It's a bit more volatile, but I'm more bullish in copper in the next 5 years. So I almost feel like that could hurt copper in that I think I would prioritize gold right now over copper, because not that I don't want to be in copper, I'm just seeing it as something I could probably invest in 6 months and still have some potential upside there, right? On the metals, the most dangerous words are "this time is different." Absolutely. Do not ever believe that. Do not ever believe that, right? All the people saying gold to 8,000, gold to 10,000, gold to 12,000. You try to capture the upside as best you can, and you plan for the worst. You have a plan for this time not being any different and just getting a crash. You need to plan for that. You need to position size correctly, right? If you can't handle the risk, it's 0%. You can handle a bit of risk, maybe you put 5% in. A little more risk, maybe it's 10%, right? You have to plan for some of the best companies. Like there will be some downside protection for some of these cash producing companies. If a company is producing, if they have a $250 million market cap and they're producing $50 million of cash, I mean, there's some downside protection to that. So that finding those types of companies already limits your risk. And then you could potentially also limit your risk through position sizing. And you could then also limit your risk through having some stop losses. So you can look at an opportunity and say, I can risk this amount of money, capture the upside on it, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to hold my loss to 5%, 6%, 8%, whatever you're willing to take, right? Depending on your investing style. But yes, 100% agree. Like you have to be aware of this. You can't go in this with blinders on and ignore it and just think gold's going to 10,000. I remember someone pitching me silver in 2011 at $40. If I had bought and held until today, I would have made a 7% CAGR. Yes, see, that's just it, right? That's the point that I'm making too. I kind of disagree with the whole, you need to buy it low and wait 10 years. Like the lost opportunity to invest in some of these other stocks. We've had so many different momentum in so many different industries over the years, so many different opportunities in different places to make money. It would be impossible for me to hold anything for that long and just have it do nothing, right? So, I do like catching the waves. I do like investing in momentum, and maybe I'm too late. Maybe I'm just catching the middle. I don't know, but I'm going to have a plan either way, right? Because 7% CAGR despite the silver being at $111, that's not very good. Portfolio should be well diversified. It should have a mix of assets that don't correlate to one another for optimal risk reward. That's what I think. Anyways, you're correct. There's a lot of, it depends, because there's a lot of microcap investors that believe they should be highly concentrated. And I tend to agree, as long as like myself, I'm Canadian, right? So I have the Canadian pension plan, I have an RRSP, and then I have 2 different pension plans through work, right? So I have 4 different very, very, very low risk investment streams in the future for myself, plus property that I own, plus some other things that I don't really want to talk about. But I have 6 or 7 different investment vehicles other than microcaps. So I see a lot of people when they get into microcaps, if this is truly your fund money, if this is your fund money, some people like taking that fund money and just buying like 2 stocks, ride or die. Right? And that's totally okay. But if like a significant percentage of your net worth is in any stocks, absolutely diversity is the way to go. I tend to own 15 to 25 stocks at any one time is typically what I own myself. So even like myself, I'm talking about gold today. I would say when I'm done buying, I will probably have a 10 to 12% position in gold stocks. Like we're not talking 80, 90%. We're talking maybe 10 to 12% tops. And that's only because some of them are going up right now, that they would be that high, right? Gold was 4. Yeah, who's laughing at me now? Did you see the news on share today? Watching closely to see how much pave the way for the Curio product. Yeah, so share today announced their U.S. coverage has been approved for Medicare and Medicaid. And what that's going to do for CheelCare, who is a Canadian wheelchair company producing wheelchairs and wheelchair attachments. They're really cool. Like this is the type of company that's really good, like it's helping people. They're manufacturing wheelchairs. The risk was they were moving into this big new facility pretty soon, and they didn't have that U.S. approval for coverage, so they're only able to sell like 1 or 2 wheelchairs at a time. And now with this U.S. Medicare, Medicaid coverage, they're going to be able to sell like bulk batches of wheelchairs. So now they have the demand for their wheelchairs in theory, and they'll be moving into a larger facility pretty soon. Their Curio product is the actual, not like attachments for wheelchairs, but it's the actual like A-list, top of the line, super cool new wheelchair. In the video that I have on CheelCare, somebody's actually using a Curio wheelchair and they're golfing and they're in a sand trap with this wheelchair. So it's pretty neat. And like I put a post on X today that basically today's press release for CheelCare isn't just like a normal press release. It's like one of those company changing press releases. So it's definitely worth a look. Take a look at Celio Waste Solutions looms undervalued versus Gevo as a comparable in the SAF fuel space. I will go take a look at that. I thought I looked at them. I forget. There's a whole bunch of different stocks rattling around in my brain right now, but I'll tell you right now, it's all gold stocks. I think I've looked at 15 gold stocks in the past 3 days. So my husband and I own lots of gold. We sold some today to go lingerie shopping earlier today. Congratulations. That is absolutely it. Now, here's the problem in Canada is that to afford steaks, I mean, lingerie is kind of cheap. To afford steaks, then I need the price of gold to go to about $10,000. Have you frickin' seen the price of steaks out there? So if you're looking for like steaks and something else, it's almost impossible because you notice there's no steaks in this statement because it is very, very expensive to buy steaks these days. So congratulations, you own some gold, lots of gold. You're definitely cheering right now. Absolutely. I joked around. I fully admit it that, you know, last year, I swear, she didn't quite, but last year was one of those years where my mother, who's 75 years old, almost beat me investing. Right? And that's because she's 75 and she's got this low risk investment portfolio with shit piles of gold in it. Right? And I'm like, I can't compete with this. Like grandma's up like 30% here. What am I going to do? So, yeah, people who own gold and silver over the past year, are definitely going up. Definitely. And the question becomes, though, again, with microcap stocks, not a lot of people play around in this lower market cap space. So if you can get in there and find some of those mispriced assets, then that's what you're looking for, right? The market looks like a two-tier market, a lot of stocks down, a lot of stocks way up, and almost impossible to find something in the middle. I'd agree, yeah. And that's what I'm worried about with 2026. I would say that a lot of the profitable and boring companies have been down. And the reason they've been down is Trump. Like the Trump tariffs, shipping issues, earnings, contracts delayed, the US elections. Like 2025 was a shit year for like boring, profitable companies. We're actually waiting for earnings to turn that around in 2026. So far, we've had good news. Hey Vision had good earnings. Canaro Biotech today had good earnings. Biorem back in late November had pretty good earnings. Like there's been companies now starting to report good earnings. So my question is the US economy kind of returning to normal in 2026? Are we going to see better earnings in 2026? If we see that, we're going to see finally that momentum swing on some of these like boring, profitable companies. But it has been a tale of two different tiers of stocks, in my opinion, because I've shown you some of these stocks that don't even make money yet, pre-revenue. Paragon, Liberty, Alula, right? All these stocks are up 200-300% and they don't make money. There's no earnings. So it's absolutely amazing how in 2025 it seems like the speculative investments, even Kraken Robotics, just because of their valuation, speculative investments are up significantly. We're in a bubble, right? And those boring, profitable companies are down here because they saw their earnings go down in 2025, right? So let's see here. Hash will probably be an interesting one this year. They pull an acquisition with Quebec exposure with low share price. Either they go bankrupt with a boom or they succeed hugely in 2027. I'd agree. You know, that's perspective, eh? So, I mean, I'll pull up Hash here quickly. That is simply solventless concentrates with Hash. And I love, you know, people get pissed off at me with perspective. But you see this little gain right here? Like simply solventless concentrates went to 10.5 cents. I knew a lot of people that bought at 11 cents recently, that bought quite a few shares at 11 cents. And, you know, I think the overall consensus was that they were crazy. You know, they're up 65 to 75% right now. Shares are at 18.5 cents today. So the people that bought here, you know, that paid 75 cents for Hash absolutely hate this company, right? They've lost a lot of money. They probably sold here, or they sold here, they just gave up. And people who bought here and now are holding to this day are very, very happy with Hash because they've seen 65 to 75% returns in the past 2 months. So congratulations. But it definitely depends, like on this comment, like your perspective, what you're looking for. Is it going to recover? What's the value? Again, back to my first slide. What's the actual value of Hash versus where the share price was? Let's see here. Oh, good. Another fight in my live stream. Guess I have to block people again. Got to be professional, people. Otherwise, I don't let you comment. I shoveled like 7 feet of snow last night. My elderly neighbors can't wait. They can wait. I hear you. I'm getting older too, right? So it's harder to, you know, when I was young, 3, 4, 5 driveways sometimes, I'd shovel everybody in the neighborhood. And now I'm like 1.5 if I can get it. MDA Space will be the only Canadian play that makes sense, given Trump said he wants a North American Iron Dome. Yeah, they went down significantly recently and then had that large contract, I think it was, and they're up again. So I know Maxwell House there on X really likes this company. So he's put a lot more research into it than I did. So go follow Maxwell House on Twitter, on X, and ask him some questions about it because it's a small cap. It's not my favorite company because of the size of the market cap. What are your thoughts? Too many stocks. I'm an hour and 23 minutes in, so I'm probably going to get close to shutting this down. MMY, MKO, WDO. I remember looking at MKO, but off the top of my head, I'm not going to be able to remember what the conclusion on that was. go take a look at my Substack. Go take a look at my Patreon. My Patreon, I think, has a 7-day free trial. You could join the Discord. We're talking about all these stocks in there right now. You could see if you like it or not before you decide whether or not you want to pay. It's only like, what is it, $5.85 American per month. Mal better, I find, than MDA potentially. Yeah. Again, if they're larger market caps, I don't know. Let's see here, talking about those same two stocks. I'm from rural Ontario. We make fun of Toronto all the time. Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. I think you're allowed to do that from anywhere in Canada. I think my Torontonian friends have lost their minds a little bit, but that's just my opinion, and I'm a crazy Westerner, so what do I know, right? Saskatchewan laughs at Ontario when they think it's cold. Absolutely, absolutely. Most of my family's in the Maritimes, right? One of the things I love about the Maritimes, I remember I flew to the Maritimes once. I was living in northern BC. It was a 3-hour drive. It was an 11-hour plane ride. And, you get there, and they had to drive an hour to go pick me up at the airport, and an hour was a long drive for them, right? Like, it's amazing the different cultures in different parts of Canada, because Nova Scotia is a very small province. There's not a lot of reason to be driving an hour and a half most days. If you live in a small town in Nova Scotia, you're usually working in that small town in Nova Scotia. So, yeah, it took me about 14 hours to get there, but Chervy is looking like a really good pick, Cameron. I put it on my watch list after your video and bought after the news today. Well, good luck. Absolutely. Look, end of the day, it's tough to say. Share price, good company though. Good company helping people. Really like Share, at least for their wheelchairs. Keep it real, Cam. We love your honesty. Thank you. I try. That's been my thing, right? I'm not going to be right. I'm not going to be wrong, but I am going to be honest. That's what I got, right? Canadian Nickel got bypassed by Mark Carney. So did Intelligence. I think Intelligence got bypassed by Mark Carney, but that's just my opinion. I know not everybody agrees with that, and that's okay. We're allowed to have our differences. Not these days. It feels like we're not allowed to have our differences anymore. I have not looked at OPTT, sorry, not off the top of my mind, but I could put it on my list. Yeah, it doesn't seem like we're allowed to have our differences anymore. Everybody gets angry. Every time I post anything on Twitter, there's people that are angry with me. Doesn't matter what I say. So people are angry right now. It's a difficult time to be alive. I think more people need to have communication and kind of work things out a little bit, right? Let's see here. MMY from 50 cents to $1 sold after delayed earnings, and finding out the CEO's the CFO. What a mistake that was. Yeah, those delayed earnings, man, that's a killer. Like, I have not seen a stock in the past 2 years that had delayed earnings and ended up okay at the end of it. Seems like every time a company had delayed earnings, their share price just crashed after that. Copper needed for an EV, plus people keep stealing it. Yeah, I was joking. Screw the EVs. Like, nobody's buying EVs in Canada right now unless it's Chinese EVs, apparently, but we'll see if that happens or not. But yes, the copper theft. I mean, the price of copper, it's the chicken or the egg, because when the price of copper goes up, the thieves are more motivated to steal more copper. And then you have more people needing more copper, and then so the price of copper goes up. So there's this, I don't know if it's the thieves stealing the copper that makes the price go up, or the price going up that makes the thieves steal the copper more, right? You hear what I'm saying? It's hard to know, but it's definitely a lot of momentum for copper when basically the price goes up and you just see all the homeless people out there suddenly get in their vehicles and grab their wire strippers. You know what I mean? So data center as well for some of this, absolutely. Thanks to you, I've been buying name silos since 57 cents and hoping Paul helps this one fly for the next few years. Congratulations. Fantastic company. We all love Paul Andreola. I always say, like, I have trouble investing in those types of companies because I'm basically giving my money to somebody else to invest. And my ego has trouble with that sometimes. Like, I want more control over my money. But I've always said, if I am going to trust anybody with my money in that capacity, it would be Paul Andreola in Name Silo, right? Like, the guy just knows what to buy and how to buy it and when to buy it. So yeah, it's done a great job, that Name Silo. Hi, Cameron. Do you have any thought on CTEC? Seems like the announcement last week is company making. Yeah, that's what I said. They have some good announcements. I made a video on them at 33.5 cents, and not enough people paid attention to it. I always laugh when I have these videos, and I work my ass off to make these videos, and then I get 300 views and then the stock doubles and nobody cares, right? That's clean tech is one of those. Clear, transparent momentum. Obviously, I like them less at this higher share price. I'm waiting to see if the share price holds or not, right? But they have, clear momentum in their Halo products, which they've been putting a lot of work into, and they have clear momentum in their I forget the name of the product now, but they're basically converting those legacy diesel units into the newer natural gas units and then putting those out in the field. And it's very easy to do. They've got 40 of those things. It costs $15,000 per unit. They switch them out from diesel to natural gas, and all of a sudden those units start making the money. So there was such clear, transparent A to B to C. All they need to do is keep doing this and their earnings are going to improve, right? So that was my thought on clean tech. Is I just see this company as like, it's got so many ways to succeed that I just don't know how I can't be bullish on it. At the same time, share price did pop up pretty quickly, so we'll see if it holds or not, right? Better to buy steaks directly from the farmer. Absolutely. Oh man, I went into Walmart the other day and I just looked. I would never buy a steak from Walmart, but I'm like curious. I'm gonna go look if it's like cheaper. It was not cheaper. We're talking like $30 a steak, and these things were ugly. They did not look healthy. It looked like somebody stabbed them with some food coloring and just threw them in a Walmart freezer. Like, oh Jesus, man. Yeah, try to find a farmer if you can. Absolutely. Absolutely. Gatekeeper collapsing. Nothing but small contracts lately. It's not enough to justify valuation. That's what I've been talking about all video, right? You have to be careful of high valuation. Once you move to a certain valuation, share price moves on people's feelings. It doesn't move on actual numbers anymore. It doesn't move on, actual good news or actual bad news. It just, share price, once you hit a certain high valuation, it just moves on whether people are happy or grumpy. And that is volatility that I tend not to like. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Support the channel. Thank you. I appreciate that. I am going to end it here. I am losing my voice. Wife is probably getting mad at me upstairs. This is a longer live stream than normal, so I'll be shutting it down soon. What about Enterprise Group, Cameron? What do you think? Enterprise Group is the scary thing for me in Enterprise Group is diversity. Like it's not very diverse. This is alternative. They have EPP systems, which provides electricity through natural gas. I absolutely love that product, but they are only in Western Canada, like 80% Alberta, 20% BC. Their main clients are oil and gas producers out of Alberta and BC. So you have to be bullish on oil and gas production in Alberta and BC, which I'm not necessarily super bullish on right now. And then you have to be bullish that they're going to be able to expand into mining. But is the Liberal government going to approve any mines? Not super bullish on that. So I like Enterprise Group. I think they could be at the bottom. When is the momentum upwards going to start? That's the big question. Now, it will happen soon because this company operates in the winter. So naturally, they're going to have their next couple quarters are going to be very good because they're going to be seasonally up because it's winter time. But long term, I have to look at whether or not I'm bullish on oil and gas in Alberta and BC. Right now, Alberta is lining up to potentially leave Canada. We've got Trump tariffs coming up, potentially. USMCA, CUSMA, renegotiated in July. There's a whole lot of these factors with big question marks on them that you got to make sure you're willing to put up with that type of volatility, right? And that type of risk. Like, are you willing to invest around CUSMA? Like if that disappears or if that gets into some fiery, tense negotiations and your Canadian company will get trashed if they get hit by a 20% tariff, or they might not and they'll do very well. Like, are you prepared to deal with that risk, right? You have to ask yourself those questions. Nope, never heard of Serve. Sorry, never heard of it, but I could take a look at some point. So at the end of the day, thank you very much. I got to shut her down. Hour and 33 minutes. Really appreciate it. 268 people here. That is now a record for me. That is why this live stream was so long. Really appreciate your time. As always, you're here talking about microcap stocks with me. That's crazy because, you know, I thought years ago back in 2020, I thought I was the only microcap investor in the world, right? I was like, nobody else possibly invests in microcaps until I got on social media and I realized that there's whole groups of people that love investing in microcaps. And it's been my goal to kind of try and, you know, bring as many people together as possible. So I really appreciate so many people are watching a live stream on microcap stocks. Really thank you for your time. Good luck. Hope you're making money out there, and I'll see you again next week. My next public video will be released on Friday. I will be talking about 2 or 3 or 4 different gold stocks in that public video being released on Friday. It's already being released in my Discord and on my Substack. If you want to see it, come check that out. Thank you.